The film opens with a scene of a Korean tourist, the son of a wealthy Korean businessman who comes to Vietnam, named Yonggi. Currently, Yonggi is being invited by a Korean man, named Jong-hoon, to meet someone car rental boss in a very quiet location. This man is named Kang Hae-sang, who is not actually a car rental boss, but a cold-blooded criminal, who intends to kidnap Yonggi and demand ransom from his wealthy family.
네 눈에는 내가 렌터카 하는 사람으로 보여. 너 납치된 거야.
The scene shifts to Korea, where a criminal is shown threatening local residents while using a knife. However, the people there, not even the local police, dared to take action the criminal. A few minutes later, a police detective arrived, burly and muscular, named Donlee. Initially, Donlee tried to talk nicely, but this criminal didn't pay any attention to him, so he didn't mince words. Donlee immediately beat and captured the criminal. Long story short, Donlee and several of his colleagues were already in the office with their superior, Captain Caden. The captains said that they were assigned by the head office to go to Vietnam, because there were 3 people Korean criminals, one of whom is Jong-hoon, the man we saw at the beginning of the film. However, it turned out that Donlee and the captain could not speak Vietnamese at all, so they were detained in the section Vietnam International Airport Immigration. Luckily, they were helped by a Korean consul named Mr. Park. Returning to their main mission, Mr. Park explained that during this year there have been frequent cases of missing people with kidnapping mode, where ransom money has been given but the victim is still killed. Some, even to this day, his body has not been found. Not wanting to get away from the main task, the captain told Donlee to just stay focused on their initial target, namely criminal named Jong-hoon. Strangely, it turned out that Jong-hoon had surrendered himself to the police station several hours earlier. Donlee and the captain began to extract information from this criminal. However, because Jong-hoon was stubborn and didn't want to providing information about the whereabouts of his other friend, Donlee also did some blow therapy on him. This Jong-hoon. After finishing interrogating Jong-hoon, Donlee and the captain rushed to an apartment, his friend's location. When they arrived there, it turned out that one of Jong-hoon's friends had been killed by someone else. Because confused with this incident, Donlee went back to meet Jong-hoon to find out what really happened.
일어나 이 새끼야.
아이고, 부원장. 얼른, 일로 와. 아니. 나가자. 집에 가자.
This time, Jong-hoon was finally honest and said the reason he surrendered himself to the police station was only because he was afraid of being killed by Kang Hae-sang, a criminal who kidnapped the son of a very rich man. Most likely, his friend who was killed in the apartment earlier was Kang Hae-sang's doing. Here it is, revealed that Jong-hoon and his 2 friends actually collaborated with Kang Hae-sang to kidnap Yonggi and demanded ransom money from his family. While on the way, their car suddenly stopped and Yonggi took advantage of this opportunity to escape to bushes, so Jong-hoon and his 2 friends were forced to chase him. But the unexpected happened. When Yonggi was captured, without thinking, Kang Hae-sang immediately slashed Yonggi with a machete. This of course made Jong-hoon and his 2 friends angry because their initial intention was only to kidnap, not killing. However, Kang Hae-sang's colleague immediately slit the throat of one of Jong-hoon's friends. With the incident just now, Kang Hae-sang's true figure has finally been revealed, namely a bloody murderer, cold and cruel. And it can be confirmed that he was the real perpetrator of the deaths of Korean tourists that occurred a year ago, recent years. Because they had seen the very cruel and brutal figure of Kang Hae-sang, Jong-hoon and his friends became very afraid and was forced to follow all of Kang Hae-sang's orders. One of the sadistic scenes performed by Kang was cutting off Yonggi's hand, with the aim of sending him to Yonggi's family and asked for ransom. Because of this, Jong-hoon continued to beg Donlee to immediately return him to Korea and away from Kang's pursuit. Donlee immediately called his colleague in Korea to find out about the origins of Kang Hae-sang, who was so cruel and is very feared by other criminals. After finishing calling his colleague, Donlee and the captain immediately went to the location where Yonggi's body was buried. This was done to confirm Jong-hoon's words. And it's true. It turns out that at that location 2 bodies were found at once, namely the bodies of Yonggi and one of his friends Jong-hun. While gathering information with the Vietnamese police, Don Lee also called one of the informants to find out who Kang Hae-sang really is. According to information from informants, there was also a Korean thug is searching for and hunting Kang Hae-sang. On the other hand, thugs and hitmen have arrived at Kang's residence. They were all sent and paid by Yonggi's father, of course, with the aim of avenging his son's death. However, at Kang's house, they only found a suitcase containing money and gold bars, which were the proceeds of the crime, Kang, for the past year. They immediately secured and sent the items to Yonggi's father in Korea. Returning to Don Lee and the captain, they went to one of the gambling places, which was one of the places where Kang and his men hang out. From here, Don Lee found the location where Kang was, and they immediately moved towards it. Meanwhile, Kang had just returned from the karaoke place, and when he saw cigarette butts in front of his house, Kang assumed that someone had broken into his house. Cunningly and cruelly, Kang beat the people one by one, thugs who want to kill him. Kang then took the cell phone from one of the thugs and called Yonggi's father and said, "Why the money and you take my gold?" Yonggi's father answered that it was a form of revenge for his son's death. Even Yonggi's father intends to send more assassins to kill Kang. However, this threat did not scare Kang at all, but he intended to go to Korea to take the money back. Not long after, Don Lee and the captain came to the location, where they saw so many corpses there. Suddenly, Kang appeared and immediately slashed the captain with a machete. Seeing that, Don Lee beat him, Kang and co. As a result, Kang managed to escape, but his friend fainted because he was beaten by Don Lee. The captain was seriously injured and had to be taken to hospital. Here, Mr. Park also said that they were deported from Vietnam because it caused a lot of chaos in that country. Meanwhile, Don Lee continues to dig up information from Kang's colleague, who is still critical. Finally, information was obtained that Kang would go to Korea on an illegal ship. Long story short, they finally arrived at the Korean airport, and without delay, Don Lee immediately came one of the gangster bases, which aims to find the location where the ship Kang is traveling on is docked. With persistence and perseverance, Don Lee and several of his colleagues continued to monitor Kang's movements from the CCTV at the port dock, and in the end they got a picture of Kang and immediately put him on the wanted list. Meanwhile, Yonggi's father continues to try to hire as many hitmen as possible to quickly kill Kang. The next day, Don Lee and several of his men were at the rich businessman's residence, or more precisely Yonggi's parents, to pay their last respects to Yonggi's body. Yonggi's mother, Kim, was very grateful to Don Lee for bringing her son's body back to Korea. Meanwhile, at the airport we were shown two Filipinos, who had just come to Korea. They are very cruel criminals and murderers, where they actually came because of Kang Hae-sang's invitation to help him to bring back the money and gold bars. The two of them immediately went to the location where the last respects were being held for the late Yonggi. In the parking lot, they had time meet several other hitmen who want to kill Kang. However, the assassins succeeded. They beat them all. On the other hand, the rich businessman was walking towards the elevator accompanied by two guards. However, the businessman is rich, completely unaware that one of the guards who came with him was the criminal Kang Hae-sang. Without further ado, Kang immediately killed the other guard and took the rich businessman away from there. From CCTV, one of Don Lee's members saw Kang, who had brought the rich businessman. He tried to chase but was unsuccessful. The next day, Kang sent a video of the rich businessman's torture to his wife, Kim. Kang aims to demand a ransom of $2 million. With the condition, the ransom money can only be sent by Mrs. Kim and a driver, and without the police interfering. Remembering that Kang already recognized their faces, Don Lee asked one of his friends, Jang, for help, to impersonate Mrs. Kim's driver. On the way to sending the ransom money, Don Lee also developed a strategy to anticipate all possible possibilities happen. So donlee divided his men into two troops, where the first squad was tasked with following the car brought Mrs. Kim and the ransom money. Meanwhile, the other troops were tasked with finding the location of the rich businessman in captivity. On the other hand, Kang Hae-sang also sent his two Filipino colleagues to continue monitoring the movement of the car brought Mrs. Kim and the ransom money. They intended to steal the ransom money in the middle of the road because they didn't want to just handing over the rich businessman. Meanwhile, one of donlee's members managed to find the location where the rich businessman was being held. But the action was a man. Kang discovered this, so Kang stabbed him in the stomach. Kang was forced to flee by car and immediately told his two Filipino friends to immediately retreat, because their actions were already known to the police.
이 새끼야. 아줌마 제껴. 아저씨 가자. 야, 안 돼요. 안 돼요. 야, 이거 가져가.